Okay, so I thought today I would talk about the difference between, I would talk about herbs and spices, and I was just explaining the difference between herbs and a spice. So herbs are the leaves of the plant, such as rosemary, sage, thyme, oregano, and cilantro, and spices come from the non-leafy part, including roots, bark, berries, flowers, seeds, and so on. So that's the difference.
Okay.
And for years, I feel so, let's see, can you hear me? So I don't have to hold it up? Well, I think we do. Okay.
Okay.
So, sorry. So they've been talking about for years the powerful health benefits with herbs and spices. And years ago, herbs and spices were used more for their medicinal benefits, and then as time went on and people started to really appreciate the culinary qualities of herbs and spices. So today I just thought I would go back. Even modern science recognizes that there are benefits to herbs and spices. So the first one I thought I would talk about is cinnamon, and you'll have to, there's a couple crazy words in here. So cinnamon, the main ingredient or active ingredient, is called cinnamaldehyde. So I always think of formaldehyde.
Right, yes.
But
That has an ominous.
yes, so it's cinnamaldehyde.
You can't sell buns with that name.
Yeah, no, that is not the name of a store. So cinnamon primarily fights against inflammation and also can lower cholesterol. But the really exciting benefit, besides the inflammation and cholesterol, is it can lower blood sugar levels. And it does this by slowly breaking down the carbohydrates that, when you're digesting food, it slowly breaks down the carbohydrates. So that way, if the carbohydrates are being broken down more slowly, that gives insulin a little bit better chance to work. So it kind of almost increases the power of insulin, and so that way insulin works to take the sugar out of your blood and rather use it for energy, or it stores it.
So I have some home-baked snickerdoodle cookies at home with a lot of cinnamon on them.
See, there you go.
There's also a lot of carbohydrates in them.
Yes.
So does that mean that the cinnamaldehyde is balancing out all the carbohydrates in my snickerdoodle cookies?
It doesn't say how much cinnamon you need.
Okay.
So good rationale.
Should I still eat the cookies in moderation?
In moderation.
Okay.
That is my, that's what I live by, moderation. So there's also there's cinnamon pills. And some people actually take this to help control their blood sugar. So I'm not really sure, what the dosage, and again, check with your doctor, even if you're eating a snickerdoodle. So that's for cinnamon. The next one I thought I would talk about is sage. So sage is a Latin word which is salvare. I'm not really up on my Latin, but I'm thinking that's what it is. Salvare, which means to save. And it has healing properties since the Middle Ages. And sage is used, they think, to improve brain function and memory, such as when people with Alzheimer's disease. One of the things with Alzheimer's disease is that you have a chemical transmitter which is called acetylcholine. There's another one, acetylcholine. And in Alzheimer's people, the level of acetylcholine drops. So therefore, if you have less chemical transmitters, then your symptoms of Alzheimer's increase. So they think that sage inhibits the acetylcholine levels from dropping. So it can help you, help prevent Alzheimer's.
Interesting.
Again, I don't know how much.
Sure.
But it's just a general thought. And also, sage helps both young and old with memory function.
And when these spices or herbs are benefiting you, is there, dried or fresh or cooked or burned? What?
Yes, that's one of the tips I'll talk
Oh,
about. but
okay, I'll stay in my
believe
lane.
It really didn't say in what I was reading if it's fresh. No, it's okay. Fresh or dried. Like
Okay.
for sage, a lot of people drink sage tea.
Mhm.
There's I'm Mediterranean, and so we drink sage tea. It's called vasconula. So that's kind of what I grew up on, was drinking the sage
Okay.
tea. So I remember, seeing the stalks of, I believe it was dried.
Okay.
So, another one I'd like to talk about is peppermint. You'll have
Yum.
heard of peppermint or peppermint oil. So there's no funny name here. It's just the peppermint oil.
Okay.
And peppermint oil or peppermint in general can help with digestion, such as helping with abdominal bloating. Like, I always love having peppermint tea after I have like a bigger meal. Helps with the digestion.
I love a cup of peppermint
Yes,
tea.
I love peppermint tea.
I also enjoy peppermints when I have to put a face mask on over my face after
Oh.
having
That's a good idea,
some
yes.
onion garlicky food, because these days we wear masks everywhere
Yes,
and breathe
yes.
whatever we ate right back in.
And sometimes that's, when we used to go to restaurants, they would have the little peppermint stars.
Yes.
So that's good for digestion.
Great.
And also, as far as aromatherapy, peppermint used in aromatherapy helps with nausea.
I find peppermint medicinally helpful for, I guess, a lot of digestive things. I greatly enjoy it.
The next one is turmeric, which I sometimes pronounce turmeric. I don't know why, but turmeric helps with inflammation and pain. And also, turmeric is what gives curry its yellow color.
It does,
Yes.
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 It'll stain.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You cook with a lot of curry?
My boyfriend cooks with things. We made a soup that had curry in it in a blender. And the plastic blender,
Oh.
as much as I cleaned it, was yellow.
Yeah.
But then I Googled how to clean it, and it said to set it out in the sun. And I kid you not, 20 minutes later, all but where the shadow from the handle on the container was completely bleached free of the yellow from the turmeric.
That's amazing.
I did not know that. Interesting.
It was
We'll have to
really
find out what that
wild.
chemical reaction is that
Yeah.
causes that to happen. So turmeric has curcumin, which is a powerful antioxidant. And we've talked about antioxidants before. They help protect your cell so that the cell doesn't break down. And then you have oxidation, which can be detrimental to your health. So it helps protect the cells, which helps in turn with aging and certain types of diseases. So that's turmeric.
Inflammation's a bad guy. Cellular inflammation is a bad guy for a lot of things.
Yes. And also helps fight against Alzheimer's and lowers your risk for heart disease, cancer, and also relieves arthritis. Turmeric. Next one is rosemary. So today on the healthcare menu, they had rosemary polenta. And I had a little sample of it, and it was delicious. There was just enough rosemary, and it gave the polenta a very different flavor.
So I want to point out, this was on the healthcare menu, so this is for our residents in Balmoral.
Yes.
You're using this knowledge of what's good about herbs for
Yeah.
some of our residents who need the most medical
Yes,
help.
yes. So in this instance, rosemary helps prevent allergies and nasal congestion. And it works in conjunction with the anti-inflammatory response. So the active ingredient is rosmarinic acid and works to suppress allergic responses and nasal congestion. So they have the
Fantastic.
rosemary polenta, there's chicken and rosemary, and pork goes very well with rosemary. So an expert tells me, so.
It does, it's really good.
As I look at you. And lastly, you mentioned garlic.
Garlic.
Yes. So garlic can be used to combat sickness and improve heart health. two of my coworkers, I could always tell when they were on a garlic health kick, because you would walk by them and, you know, it's excreted from
Yeah.
your pores, and
Oh,
you can certainly tell when someone is on a garlic, any type of garlic diet or something like that. So the positive health effects are due to a compound called allicin, not the name, but it's spelled A-L-L-I-C-I-N, allicin, which is also responsible for the garlic's distinct smell. Helps combat the common cold, and can also help by lowering the bad cholesterol, which is the LDL cholesterol.
It is, I want to assume garlic is a little safer right now as we all stay 6 feet away from one another.
See, a plus to COVID.
Apply,
If you
there
will.
we go.
If you will.
Physical distancing
Yes.
and physical benefit.
Yes.
Garlic.
Yes. So those were the 6 I just thought I would highlight, and just for some storing and using spices tips. When you were talking about the dried herbs, so dried herbs do not always taste like the fresh. So when you're trying to substitute them in your cooking, it's not always a 1-to-1 ratio. So try substituting 1 part dry herb for 3 parts fresh.
1 part dry to 3 parts
Yeah.
fresh.
So it's almost, I think, because when it's dried, maybe it's a little bit more concentrated. So that's the way I would think of it, that you would use less dried. And also dried herbs and spices, they do have a shelf life. So usually it's between 1 to 2 years, especially if it's unopened. And then you really are, my spices are right next to my stove, but they should be in a dry, cool, dark, like maybe a pantry or something.
So 1 to 2 years if opened?
Yes.
Okay. 1 to,
Yes.
so that's
especially after they've been opened.
especially after
Yeah.
they've been open only
Yeah.
1 to 2 years.
And store in a cool, dry place. And then we didn't really talk about salt. It's not really a spice or an herb, but it says taste and season throughout the cooking process. So always maybe try to under-season, because if you over-season, you can't really take
Right.
it back.
You're
But
stuck with it.
Yeah, so always try to, especially if I'm cooking and if I'm using a recipe for the first time, and it'll say, you know, maybe 2 to 3 teaspoons of. I always try to go on the more conservative side and then just kind of add gradually. And then really, if you're going to add salt, maybe just add it right at the end. Just prepare everything and then taste, and then if you feel like it needs salt, then you could add salt right at the end.
I'm still trying to get a quantified answer to what a chef's pinch is. The chefs kind of laugh at me when I ask
I've
that.
never heard that term.
Chef's pinch?
No, I've
Well,
heard
Chef
a pinch.
David said
I've
it.
heard a pinch,
Chef
but-
David said it a couple of times on this show. How much salt is that? It's a chef's pinch. How much is a pinch? A chef's pinch. They're
It's kind of-
secrets.
It's kind of when my mom or my grandmother were trying to teach me how to, make bread. Well, how much do I need? Oh, this much. Oh, that much.
Yeah.
So it's a grandmother pinch, I guess.
Got it.
Any questions? Any suggestions for next week?
Ooh, suggestions for next week.
I'm blanking on the name of it, and this may be an unfair question. But what is the name? I don't know whether it qualifies as a spice or an herb, but there's a little. It's red in color, but when you mix it in with rice, the rice turns yellow. And it's really, really expensive stuff.
Saffron.
Saffron.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the name I was trying to pull.
Yes.
Saffron. And if anybody can explain to me why saffron is so outrageously expensive, I would.
Isn't saffron the part of the flour?
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's a part of some particular type of flour. I'm not sure which one. but maybe it could be the labor involved too.
Could be, could be. All right.
Well,
Thank you.
I will find out for you next week.
Thank you.
Well, maybe you can talk about healthy barbecue food, as next week you'll be leading into Memorial Day weekend.
Sounds good.
Something with barbecues.
Sounds good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you
I'll-
very
I'll
much,
share
Linda.
this.
Uh-oh, you might